ladies and gentlemen. It's very good to be here. I come to a lot of these product launches, a lot of British companies coming here into the market, but I can't recall coming to one for a long, long time where I felt that the product itself was so well chosen for the country and the market. It seems to me that what this piece of technology does is so perfectly adapted to the circumstances of Indonesia, because the number one challenge I think this country faces is to spread wealth, to spread development throughout the country. So in a piece of technology like this, I think you have a really powerful weapon where for 1/10 of the cost of the normal ATM machines, you can put these all over Indonesia. You can put them in Papua. You can start to interest people in banking that haven't even thought about banking. So I think it's an incredibly good piece of technology. And certainly if I was in retail banking and if I was looking for ways to spread your network without necessarily having to establish expensive branches everywhere, then this is surely the way to do it.
So first I'm going to enter the card. And with the RTM, we now have some favorite transactions stored. So we've stored a voucher, withdrawal transaction, balance inquiry, a couple of different transactions have been stored. So let me do just a regular transaction here. So I'll enter my PIN, just like I would at an ATM, and then I'm going to select an account, like checking. Now one difference here between an ATM and the RTM is that I can select almost any amount because the retailer is going to give me the amount. But just in a simple transaction, I'll select that I want $5. Would I like a receipt for this? No, I don't need a receipt. Gives me my card back, and then it's going to print the voucher that I'm going to hand to the retailer for my cash. So it prints the voucher. And one thing about the RTM also is that there's a lot of fraud protection built into the RTM. So on the voucher, you'll see a QR code. You'll see a unique ID number at the top. This voucher is good in this store for a limited period of time. So if I tried to take this voucher to another store, it's no good. If it times out, the transaction is reversed. So if someone puts the voucher in their pocket and they go home, the transaction is reversed. So in the normal case, I take the voucher and I hand it to the merchant. The merchant hands me the cash, and that's the end of the transaction. Now, one of the differences that we were talking about between the RTM and a POS or POS system is that the ATM can remember, or the RTM, I'm sorry, can remember things about the transaction and know things about me. So it will know, for example, I have favorite transactions that I do. I want to do a voucher withdrawal for $10, and yes, I want a receipt, and yes, I speak English. That's all part of the favorite transaction. I still have to enter my PIN, but it's not going to ask me now what I want to do. It knows what I want to do because I selected my favorite transaction. So it gives me my card back, and again, same kind of process. It prints the voucher. So I take the voucher, hand it to the merchant gives me the cash, end of transaction. These kind of things, these kind of differences, like the favorite transaction, you can see advertising on the screen. You can see the targeted messages when we do transactions. All of these differentiate the RTM from POS POS type terminals. So it's saving, it's remembering that for this card, it's remembering on this RTM, but all RTMs. It's remembering my favorite transactions, the language that I speak, whether I want receipts or not. We can do bill payments on this. So for example, if I typically pay my bill for my credit card or pay my bill for some service on the RTM, instead of having to go through all the different payees that I would try to pay, it would remember my favorite transaction is to pay this bill when I use this card. Somebody enters a different card, could be different marketing messages, different favorite transactions, a different experience. Now, one of the things that's very important about this that we very briefly touched on with you, but talked about extensively this morning, is that the software in here is KAL ATM software. but there's also a enterprise server-based system monitoring and managing this network of RTMs. So we can remotely see that it's out of service or in service, or the paper is low, or if we have updates remotely to send to the RTM, we can do that without anyone having to visit the RTM. So it's all automated, self-service with remote updates. That's very, very, very important. Also, that goes to keeping the cost of running these and maintaining these very, very low. The thing that you have to remember or think about with the RTM is it has all of the security, all the software, all the same software, the same security that an ATM has. So it has, encrypting pen pads, triple DES, all the same global security standards that are required of ATMs are in the RTM.
Yes, are you going to have a strategy to replace all the channel like the ATM, the EDC, the internet banking? What I mean is this device can handle all those multi-channel, then replacing by this device?
I think you need all the channels. I mean, Steve, your thoughts on that? I think all the channels are complementary. I don't think we replace existing channels. I think you need internet banking, you need phone banking.
No, what I mean is this kind of device can use by the customer as a subsidiary of the
absolutely. We see the RTM as another channel that is alongside these other channels. We think ATMs are needed. We think phones are needed. We think people want to interact with you, the bank, in multiple different ways. And we think the RTM is a new channel.
No, but I mean, can we use all the channel inside? I can put all those features like the internet banking features, the EDC, even the
all the features,
mobile banking inside those device.
Yes, mobile banking as well. Now, one of the things that one of our customers is talking about is mobile banking within RTM. So they're saying, for instance, they have locations, for instance, holiday locations, where you need cash only for 3 months in a year because it's, let's say, at a beach. And people come to the beach perhaps only 3 months of the year in Europe, say, for example. It's hard to justify having an ATM there for 3 months of the year fixed because the rest of the months there's nobody there. So the RTM can be moved around because it's very simple and very easy to move it around. It just needs a power connection, Wi-Fi, and you're done. Or 3G connection, you're done. So again, when we talk to some of our customers, that's the sort of thing we hear. It's very mobile, very easy to, when they sell these kinds of ATMs, for instance, to a customer in Australia, then you sign up a customer for a new ATM in a retail location, and then you say, I'll deliver it to you in 2 weeks' time. Instead, with the RTM, you can say, well, it's in my pickup truck. I'll just install it right now for you. Power it up, boom, and it's done.
My name is Donny from BTPN. I'm just still not clear on the incentive for the merchant to accept the voucher payment. I think maybe you can elaborate more about that.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. So we think that there are many incentives, many things that are very interesting for the retailer. The first thing is, of course, more customers come to his shop. In fact, where in the UK and the US, where there are many ATMs in shops, the total turnover of the revenue of the shop goes up by 10% because people come just to get cash. And then, of course, what happens is they say, well, I think I'll go to that shop. I know there's an ATM or an RTM in that shop. I'll get some cash. And then they say, oh, I think I'll buy some chocolates, right? People do that, impulse purchases. So the average in the US and the UK, when there is an ATM in a shop, is that the total revenue for the shop goes up by 10%. Okay, that in itself is very interesting. The second thing that is very interesting is that cash that he has in the store, he is now depositing without having to do anything. He's getting a remote cash deposit. He didn't actually do anything. Did you understand how that works? Because when somebody comes in and takes cash out, in the background, our RTM does an instant cash deposit. Now, as a bank, you can choose whether it is instant or 1 hour later. It is your decision, okay, how you do it. But generally speaking, technology-wise, we can do an instant cash deposit into the retailer's bank account. So now that is obviously very good for the retailer because he now has less cash in his store, right? He's not piling up lots of cash in the store that then at the end of the day,
he has to take to the bank branch. And if it goes perfectly for him, maybe he never has to go to the bank, right? Because people are coming in spending money, and then other people are coming in taking money out. And in every country, and it's not just an Indonesian issue, in every country around the world, cash is being physically moved from rural areas back to the central bank in order to recirculate, right? And the cost of that is very high. Okay, so one of the advantages for the shop is that it reduces the amount of money that is moved because he is depositing that money. And then the final answer, and this is really up to you guys in the banks, right? About how you incentivize the shopkeeper. My feeling is that you don't need more incentive for the bank, for the retailer, because he's going to get more people coming into his shop, right? And he's getting people coming into the shop with money in his pocket. You know, the thing that a shopkeeper loves the most is a customer with money in his pocket. Because you know, one of the things that Steve talked about, imagine that a customer comes into your shop, buys some stuff, and then he discovers, oh, I don't have enough money. That's really a bad situation for the shopkeeper, right? And this happens more often than you think. People come in, think they have enough money, but they don't. Either they don't have enough cash, or worse, they do a POS transaction and they are declined. You know how embarrassing that is, right? None of us want to be in that situation, but it happens all the time. But with an RTM, the customer goes in, takes money out, he's got now money in his pocket. He's a rich guy, right? He's got money in his pocket. And you're very comfortable, you're very happy, because he's got money in his pocket. He comes into the shop with money in his pocket. Fantastic. So when we talk to retailers, they are crystal clear, this is brilliant. This is exactly what they want. In my opinion, you don't need any more incentive. But there's one more incentive you can give. What is that? For every transaction, you can say, you know what? I'll share 10% of the interchange fee with you. As the bank, I'm making 20 pence or whatever the number is. In the United States, it's 24 cents, right? The interchange fee is 24 cents. You can say, you know what? I'll give you 10% of that for doing this transaction for me.